What's going on, everybody? You know who it is. This is Austin with Austin Smith Real Estate, and today I wanted to talk about equity. Well, what is equity? What equity is, and I also wanted to talk about home equity line of credits. So, equity and home equity line of credit, also known as the HELOC. So right off the bat, what is equity? Equity in any particular asset, equity is the difference, is basically your ownership, but that's calculated by taking the total value of that asset minus whatever current debt or whatever liabilities that are owed against that particular asset. So obviously, dealing with real estate, we're talking about the current value. So whatever the property is worth. If right now my property is worth $400,000 and my current mortgage on that property, right? So $400,000 and my current mortgage, what I owe on that particular property is, say, $200,000. Then I have equity resulting in, obviously, $200,000. Right? Now, equity is a form. Sometimes they do consider it liquid cash. And when you're talking about your net worth, you're talking about all your assets minus all your liabilities. And with equity, at least, equity can kind of be considered liquid cash because it can be converted into cash depending on how long, depends on the buyer. If it's a cash buyer, they can convert that equity into liquid cash in 7 days, 2 weeks. If it's somebody coming with a mortgage, then obviously it's going to take 30, 45 days, whatever the case. You get the deal. But this counts towards your net worth. Right, so that's equity. Now, the difference between equity and cash is that equity has a little bit more power to it than cash. But I know we usually talk about cash is king, and we'll talk about that later. Equity, on the other hand, now gives you the option to leverage against that in order to open up what's known as a home equity line of credit, which is probably my favorite line of credit. Because the home equity line of credit is the only type of credit, especially on an income producing asset, where you could take like a credit card. It's not a credit card, it's actually a line of credit, so you can write checks from it. But it's similar to paying with the credit card but having somebody else pay the bill. And we'll talk about that in a second. Love it. Right? So that's equity. And the thing that we can do with equity is what essentially makes it so powerful. So we'll jump right into why I like the home equity line of credit and how beneficial it could be to you. So, starting off with a home equity line of credit, starting off with a line of credit to begin with. First off, everybody's talking about they don't have money, they don't have the opportunities, they don't have whatever the case that they can't take down these deals. First things first, if you need money, credit lines are excellent sources for you to gain access to money. It's right there for you. It can't get any more easier. I don't know what else to tell you. Line of credit. It doesn't have to be if you don't own a home already where you can tap into a home equity line of credit. No problem. Do you have credit cards? You can go to TD Bank, I think Wells Fargo or Bank of America also offers it, where you can go get an unsecured line of credit right from the bank. It's not tied to any collateral. You don't have to put any collateral up. All you have to do is go ahead and apply. And if you're able to, you can gain access to a line of credit, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever you apply for, whatever you can get, that's just more money. So leverage your credit, people, all right? Because sometimes we don't have all the cash to put down as a down payment. but we do have cash in other forms, meaning other people's money, whether that's somebody that we know or the bank. It's other people's money. So why do I like the home equity line of credit so bad? One, the home equity line of credit, you're able to get on your equity, right? So right off the bat. So taking that same example where you have $200,000 in equity, some banks might lend up to 100%, but some usually lend maybe between 80% and 85% of your total equity, right? So with the 200,000, they may not lend 100%, so the whole 200,000, but they might give you 150,000 as a line of credit, meaning you have access to be able to write a check, not for the whole 150,000 unless it's a proper business venture, but you can draw from that line of credit the same way that you would swiping your credit card. The difference is, here's why I like it so much, especially on income producing assets. So, if you have a piece of real estate that's a rental property, a multifamily, a single family, whatever the case, but it's producing you income, it's a rental property, you would be able to tap into that equity, right? By taking out a home equity line of credit, using that and leveraging that to pay for another investment opportunity, whether it's a flip, whether it's another buy and hold scenario. And now you're not using your own money, like cash at least, out of pocket to purchase another asset. You're using one asset to pay for another asset. And the best part is, you're not paying for it. Who's paying for it? The tenant. The tenant is paying for your purchase. The tenant is paying for you to use your asset to pay for another asset. Like, that's why I like it so much. So imagine, let's say you're not even dealing with a big, like $200,000 line of credit, no problem, whatever the case. Let's say you're dealing with a small amount, maybe 30, 40, 50. Cool. That's money that can be used for deals. So imagine you dealing with your property, you have equity, somebody comes up to you with a flip opportunity, and they had like, hey, if you put in 20, you'll get 40 back. You're thinking about it like, that's a no-brainer. I just doubled my money. So you write the check from your line of credit that your tenant is paying for, right? Because you're attacking that equity, that monthly payment that's coming from it. Like, you might write a check for $20,000 and your monthly payment might be $200. Fine. At the end of the day, putting that $200 under what the current property is already generating causes that property to pay off that bill right off the bat. So even if you're paying, say if you're netting $1,000 a month off this rental property, you write a check to invest in your partner's deal where you can make $40,000 if you put in 20. Say if that project takes you 4 or 5 months. So for 4 or 5 months, instead of $1,000, you're netting $800 a month for 4 to 5 months. Big whoop. Sorry, it's still passive income, still passive cash flow. And not only that, you send out the $20,000. That $20,000 brings back $40,000. That $20,000 pays off your balance of what you wrote the check for and what you drew on your line of credit. And now you've just pocketed $20,000 from using money that the tenant is going to be paying for. You see how powerful that is? So now, like, you can get, and now they call it the velocity of money. That's how you can really scale up your income by obviously investing. But more importantly, if you have $40K in equity and you have a $40,000 line of credit, best thing that you can do is you can send out the whole 40 in 2 different deals. Sending out 20 to participate in this deal, sending out another 20 to participate in this deal. This deal might bring you 40 back. Another deal might bring you 60 back. But you're using the same 40,000 that the tenant is paying for. And even if you're worried about playing with that amount of money, the worst case scenario, the worst thing that can happen, is your cash flow drops a little bit. But thinking about what can go right, you can make money really quickly by leveraging a home equity line of credit. Which, and even with another point that I like about it, is that, and I hate spelling this word. I'm going to try, just bear with me. But the home equity line of credit, whatever you draw on that, can be amortized over a certain amount of time. It can be 5 years, 15 years. Some banks might even allow you to do 30. But it can be amortized, part of the mortgage, rolled and amortized over X amount of periods, which helps keep your monthly payment really cheap. So another reason I love the HELOC is that it helps keep your monthly payments low. Low interest rate, low monthly payments. Definitely an awesome way to leverage your credit. So the biggest thing, and like I said, you can do this with any particular line of credit. It's just that this is the reason why equity and your position equity-wise can have a major impact just on power and how you're able to move and velocity of money and being able to use those assets to purchase more assets. You can get this done, and all you have to do is get the first deal. You get the first deal, and assuming that it is a great deal, you're gonna have an equity position in there. With that equity, leverage that to you, get more assets. While you stack your active money, all your active money, right, should be coming and being used to purchase investments in which the investments purchase investments. That's the velocity of money, because as those investments starts bringing you cash flow back, as those investments start putting money in your pocket, at that point you use that for your expenses. As you use that for your expenses, your active money has more investment power, which leveraging that power to purchase bigger assets that then purchase bigger assets. Now you can see how that's that snowball effect can really create wealth, and that's what we're out here to build. So recognize your equity, realize what you can do with your equity, and obviously, another point of equity is just your position on what you have in the bank or what you have as far as your financial position. Whether you might have $100,000 in equity, you might not even need to make an investment move. No problem at all. It's just the fact that when you're recognizing your net worth, you have that money, and selling that asset would then give you whatever equity position that you have within that asset. So that's why I love the HELOC, the home equity line of credit. Either way, I'm gonna make a new video just on a plethora of credit options that you can use to purchase real estate, but it's all out there for you, and recognize it, leverage it, and here we go. Austin Smith Real Estate signing off.